right. Hi, everyone. My name is Jackie Werner, and I am the Scholarly Communications and Research Librarian at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine. And today I'm going to be going over some tips on how to choose a journal for publication. And in this workshop, we're going to learn how to identify and compare potential journals for publication, kind of figure out what you're looking for and why. Okay, so the first thing you want to look at uh, is you have to know what you are looking for in a journal. It's not like there's one obvious best journal and that you're going, okay, uh, I need to publish in Science. That's obviously the best journal. Let's go. Think of it more as choosing a school. You, when you're choosing a school to attend, it's more than just identifying the most prestigious school and applying there. That's it. Unlike schools, you can only apply to one at a time, but you're still going to be going through the same process of figuring out how these journals fit you. And some examples of what you may be looking for are: I want to publish in a prestigious journal to get tenure. I want people in my field to be able to find and build off my research. I want to publish for my residency application. It may not, it doesn't have to be the best journal. I just want to get a legitimate journal and get it out there. And another option is I want my work to be free to everyone. So, step one uh, is identifying possible journals that you want to compare. And the first and easiest way to do this is what you'll already be doing for your research. And that is when you're doing a literature review and searching databases, looking to see what's already been published out there, just write down the journals that you find. If they've published about this topic before, then that will likely be a good journal for your research. What you also might want to do is that when you're doing a database search, is add on to your search the type of article that you're interested in publishing. For instance, if you're doing like a case report, then just search for your topic and then add case report in quotation marks after that. And that will make sure that not only does the journal publish on this topic, it publishes the type of article that you're interested in. The second resource is where your colleagues in the field have published and where have people in your lab published. Has your PI published papers before on this topic? Well, there's an easy list of journals that we know will accept this type of work. The third thing you want to look at is journals that your school or your library support. If you're interested in publishing open access, aka journals where your work will be freely available to everyone, um, then most of those journals are going to require author fees to publish. If you're interested in the open access route, then see if you can be supported for that, because these author fees tend to be like thousands of dollars. So if that's something you're interested in, then definitely look to see if they're supported before you get your heart set on a specific journal. Also, if you do want to make your work open access, almost all journals allow you to make some version of the work available for free with like usually a 12-month embargo. So keep in mind that if you want to share your work and the fees are prohibitive, that is not the only way that you can make your work freely available. And the last step here is just browsing journals that are in your field. And two of the best options for doing this, excuse me, are in the database Scopus, and also for open access, the directory of open access journals. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So this is an example of searching in Scopus. They have an entire section of this database called Sources. And Scopus, if you don't know, is a multidisciplinary database. I believe tends more towards the science and medicine side of things. But they have a wide variety of journals that are included in their database, and they allow you to directly compare these journals. So here I went into Sources and just checked in their subject areas and looked for clinical neurology. And here I got 548 different results that are sorted by site score. And I'm going to go over citation metrics a little later. But what you can know now is that this is a way to compare how well cited and discussed these journal articles are. So generally, the higher the site score, the more people are going to be building off your research. And if you click on one of these journals, you can actually choose up to 10 different journals to directly compare with different metrics. So here I chose 3 different journals: Lancet Neurology, Frontiers in Neurology, and just Neurology. And this compares the citation metrics. And over here you have some other comparisons. For example, we have citations by year, how many documents are published by year, the percentage not cited by year, and a really useful one, percentage review articles by year. So if you're doing a review article, then it's very helpful to look at, A, does this journal actually publish review articles? And B, how much of what they publish is review articles? If they only accept like one review article an issue, for instance, it's going to be a lot harder to get in than a journal that publishes more review articles. And here we have a search in the directory of open access journals. So what this database does is it tries to gather all legitimate open access journals. We'll talk about less legitimate ones later on as well. And you can just search for by subject, by word in the title, etc. And over on the left-hand side, you could see a couple options over here. First off, you could select journals with a directory of open access journals seal, and those are vetted kind of the highest quality journals in the index. You could also choose journals without author fees, and journals where the author retains all rights, aka you're not signing away your copyright to what you've written. And as I mentioned before, open access journals are not the only way to make something open access. So I would recommend looking for the other aspects of journals first before specifically searching for open access journals. All right, so you have a list of journals that you think are relevant and you think might publish your article. So how do you get to evaluating it? I'm going to start at the bottom with impact factor or citation metrics. You've probably heard of impact factor before. Many journals have this listed on their website. And what impact factor is that it is it's a way of comparing journals. And basically it's looking at the number of papers a journal published divided by, or the number of papers that are cited in a journal divided by the number of papers that it published. Or I think it might be number of citations. The point is that that there are actually many different types of citation metrics, and all of them are have slightly different ways, have slightly different calculations. Some of them are meant to be can be compared across fields. Others look at try to normalize the numbers. The important thing is for all of these is that higher impact is generally going to mean two things. One, articles published in this journal are going to be seen by more people and they're going to be cited by more people. Two, the higher impact journal, the harder it is to get accepted. For instance, I mentioned publishing in Science or Nature earlier. Those are very high impact journals, and they're also very hard to get into. So how important citation metrics are to you depends on why you're publishing. If you're looking for tenure, then you're going to want to try to find what journals are higher impact, but I can still get into them. If you're looking to publish for residency applications, you may just want to not care as much about impact factor. The important thing for all these metrics is comparison and not the raw number itself. The raw number isn't really going to mean much when you look at it. It does have a meaning, but when you compare journals, you can really see the difference. Like, let me go back here. And CiteScore is a citation metric that that Scopus does. And just by looking at this, you could see how much higher the Lancet Neurology is compared to Frontiers in Neurology and Neurology, which means that if you're interested in publishing in the Lancet Neurology, then that's going to be pretty difficult to get in. So you may want to just take a look at some random articles in journals with higher cite scores and and kind of look at your own article and try to figure out, is this of the same caliber? Is it as novel as this? And it's not just going to be like, is this research well done? It's going to be, is this research exciting enough to publish in a journal that can only publish so much per year? And impact factor and those Scopus citation metrics are both they are both only visible in subscription databases, but many of these journals are going to have their impact factor or cite score or SNP listed on their website. So just like looking at the websites and writing them down, you may have to do that instead of just going to the database where all the scores are. All right, and the next thing is taking a look at the aims and scope and instructions for authors. And these are probably the most important part of selecting a journal. Aims and scope tells you what does this journal want? And if you go to a journal website, you're going to want to look for something that says about or aims or scope. And you're going to want to take a look at submission guidelines. And that's going to tell you just a brief summary of what this journal wants. In this case, unlike, say, job applications, you don't want to go, well, I could kind of fit in this aims and scope. I might as well give it a try. Since you can only submit to one journal at a time, it is better to find a journal where you fit squarely in what they're doing. There are a ton of journals out there, and there are very specific journals that could exactly fit your research. Uh, and generally, the broader the journal's aims and scope, the harder it will be to get into there. Once again, going back to Science and Nature, they publish basically like the most exciting research in the field. And that means that a lot of good, solid research is not going to get into Science or Nature, not because of the quality of it, just because it has to be extremely selective because this has such a wide audience. And here we have another journal where you just click, it's you can see here that it has impact factor and site score right on their main page. And then there's a menu over there. And if you click that, then you see where the about the journal is. So there are also many things that you have to be aware of when you are selecting your journal. The first one is the acceptance rate. And most of these journals are going to they're going to mention their acceptance rate in the instructions for authors. And if they don't, remember, like I said, higher impact is generally going to mean a lower acceptance rate. Next off, we have APC's article processing charges, which I talked about before. If your institution has open access funding for specific journals, then that's probably a good place to look and see if any of those journals fit your needs. And it is very, very important that you know beforehand. I can't tell you how many times I get somebody emailing me saying, I submitted to this journal and it wants $2,000. Can you pay that? The answer is usually going to be no, no matter what institution you're in. You can also oftentimes put open access funding into a grant. So if you're writing a grant for research, think about what journals you want to publish in then, not way after when the research has been done and you're thinking of publishing it. And once again, you can almost always make your research open in some way, even if it's not an open access journal. So even without funding, you will be able to do that. Next thing to be aware of is where is this journal archived? What databases is this journal included in? If it isn't in PubMed, Scopus, Embase, or whatever databases are in your field, researchers are less likely to find. Almost everything's going to be in Google Scholar, but there's a lot of not so legitimate journals in Google Scholar, and it's easy to be overlooked if you're not in a more focused, your more curated database. This also serves as a good indication that the journal is a legitimate journal and not a predatory journal, which I will talk about in 2 bullet points. If Embase or Scopus or PubMed has looked at this journal and said, yes, this deserves to be archived in scholarly papers, then that's an indication that it's a real journal. Not always. Sometimes predatory journals can slip into those databases. Sometimes a formerly good publisher becomes predatory, but as a rule of thumb, that works. Next thing you want to look at is time to publication. And that all depends on how important publishing quickly is to you. Publishing can take a very, very long time, especially with peer review. Uh, so many journals are going to list their time to publication right in the instructions for authors or the about section. Know this before you go in, and then, excuse me, and if that's important to you, then you can look for journals that do it a little quicker. Next, you want to be aware of copyright. Is having control of your work important to you? Many journals will have you sign copyright to your article over to the publisher. That means that you can't just like post it on your own personal website or wherever you want. You are only allowed to post it where they say you can, which is often just on the journal, just in the subscription journal itself. Most open access journals are more likely to let you retain copyright. There are also tools for negotiating with publishers if keeping your copyright is very important for you. And finally, predatory journals. Especially if you're looking for open access journals, these can be a major problem. And predatory journals are scam journals that don't deliver what they claim in order to take those author fees and make easy money. They'll do things like claim they're peer reviewed, but not really have it. They'll put people who aren't affiliated with their journal on their board. They'll pretend to be in a different location. And unfortunately, one of the best ways to recognize a predatory journal is if they are contacting you asking for you to publish something with them. It's unless you are like extremely top of the field, famous researcher. Most of the journals that are sending you, they're sending you emails saying, your research is fascinating. We'd like you to publish in our journal. Most of those are going to be scams. Other things to look for is going on the journal website and look if it has a professional presentation. Is everything spelled correctly? Are there advertisements? Do different pages say different things? Is honestly, is this a place that you would be proud to see yourself published? You also want to make sure that if they say they have an author fee, they list these fees in writing, right on their page, and don't spring it on you after they submit. If you can't find a dollar amount anywhere on their page, that's a red flag. And finally, look for things that are too good to be true. If they say they can have your article peer reviewed in 2 days, they are not actually peer reviewing your article. And finding predatory journals can be its entire own presentation, but the best way to see if it's a legitimate journal is A, search in databases and see if the journal can be found in these scholarly databases. And B, look for Retraction Watch. Or I believe you could search for retractions in PubMed. And that takes a look at journals that are not predatory, but kind of iffy. A lot of their stuff is getting retracted. So you may want to steer clear of that. All right, and that is a crash course of how to choose a journal for publication.